The VAG family is the master of creating wildly different products from literally the same ingredients. Now, while these two might be looking like very similar offerings, both are kind of SUVs, both have all-wheel drive, both have basically the same powertrain and drivetrain, they are very, very different as to what they offer. Today we're comparing the Škoda Kodiaq L&K to the VW Tiguan Elegance. And let me tell you why these two cars are completely different and which one is for you. Open up the bonnets of these two cars and it is basically identical. These two cars are based on the same platform, which is the MQB platform. And while the Kodiaq might be a little bit longer in its wheelbase, the platform is more or less the same. And talking about same, well, the powertrain and drivetrain of these two cars is absolutely identical. Both of these cars have the 2-liter TSI engine, specifically the E8888 Gen 3B engine. Both of the cars are mated to the DQ381 7-speed DSG transmission and a Haldex all-wheel drive. Now, the Kodiaq is of course the larger car. So the 190 HP that it gets probably feels a little bit more sluggish compared to the Tiguan, but I think so in terms of just the power and the feel of both of the cars and their engines, it feels pretty much the same. Out of the two cars that we have in today's test, the Kodiaq is my favorite when it comes to how it looks. The new style of the Kodiaq is definitely much more elegant. It looks much more just rich and luxurious on the outside. The previous Kodiaq with the older style of headlights was not my favorite. I think so it used to look a little weird in the front, but this new design looks so much nicer. It looks sharp, it looks purposeful, and if you see it from the side profile and compare it to the Tiguan, it is the much bigger car. You can see the heft and the size of it from the side for sure. At the rear, if you've seen the older Kodiaq, this does not look that different. Maybe the taillight design has changed up a little bit, but overall, I think so the Kodiaq looks really, really nice. This is the L&K variant and most of the L&K stuff is on the inside. What I would have probably liked is Škoda give some nice looking rims to this car, because these multi-spoke rims that Škoda has given look a little bit too plain Jane for this sort of car, especially in its L&K variant. But this color, the chrome touches all around, and like the classic Škoda design touches, like this iconic grille that they have, the side profile, the tail lights, everything just looks super duper nice. The Tiguan looks much sharper, much sportier, and even on its side profile you can definitely see that it looks more like a crossover SUV or a hatchback as opposed to the Kodiaq, which looks like a proper hefty SUV. In my personal opinion, I don't like the design of the new Tiguan. I don't really like these headlights, but design and looks are subjective, so that is totally up to you if you like it or not. But from the back is where the Tiguan looks the best in my opinion. The tail lights look really cool, and in this black shade, yeah, it looks like a very nice looking, very premium looking vehicle. Hop into the Kodiaq, and this is where you can actually see all of the L&K stuff that Škoda is giving with the car. You have these amazing Canton speakers which sound absolutely amazing, these lovely L&K seats which are heated and ventilated and are super duper comfortable. Then you also have this ginormous panoramic sunroof which lets in so much light, makes the cabin feel airy and spacious. Then you have the L&K steering, which, well, it's pretty much the exact same steering that you get in the Kodiaq Slavia as well, but the design is super nice, super luxurious, and comparing it to the Tiguan feels much more like Silicon Valley, tech, modern, youthful, whereas this feels more traditional, old school. It has these nice beige touches and it's just more graceful and elegant in its interior. You get this lovely virtual cluster in front of you which has tons of customization options, this really nice infotainment system which is super easy to use, and it also has gesture control and everything to it. You have 360-degree cameras, you have automatic parking, you have so much tech wizardry in this car that, well, this one video is not enough. But I think so the main talking point and why you would probably choose the Kodiaq over the Tiguan is because of this thing called DCC that it has. So what exactly is DCC? Well, DCC means dynamic chassis control, and basically that allows the Kodiaq to change the stiffness or the softness of the suspension according to the mode that you're in. So there is a button on the center console which allows you to shift through, like, I think so 6 or 7 different settings for the suspension, and it genuinely makes a massive difference in the ride quality. Pop this thing into comfort and it becomes butter smooth. Pair that to the amazing 2-liter TSI engine and the slick shifting 7-speed DSG that this car gets, and this is as good as any BMW, Audi or Mercedes, if not better, because the Kodiaq has genuinely one of the nicest rides on the road. The Tiguan now only comes in one variant, which is the Elegance variant, and it comes pretty dang well loaded inside because it gets, just like the Kodiaq, a massive panoramic sunroof. It has a very easy to use infotainment system. It also gets a virtual instrument cluster. You get this really nice flat bottom steering wheel which has a bunch of controls on it, but it misses out on a couple of things. The front passenger seat is not electronic. You don't get a really nice sound system like the Kodiaq. It has a normal VW sound system, but this thing is much more modern, it's much more youthful, and it feels very techy, wizardry, and it's just a more youthful interior in that sense. Is it as nice or as comfortable as the Kodiaq? Probably not, and that's because this is a little bit more sportier. Even the seating position, it's a little bit lower and it feels more of a hatchback on stilts rather than a proper SUV. And if that is a good thing or a bad thing, that's on you to decide. And if you're someone who likes a little bit more of a sporty drive, this is the car for you. Just like the Kodiaq, the Tiguan gets a bunch of different driving modes, but unlike the Kodiaq, it does not get DCC, it gets conventional struts. And if you ask me what do the different driving modes do, well, it alters your throttle input, it alters your ABS, traction control, stability control, and probably even the torque split between the Haldex all-wheel drive system. If you ask me, the suspension setup is not as versatile as the Kodiaq's, but it still gets the job done and it's pretty comfortable too. The Kodiaq also gets Yes. So the Kodiaq also gets a hands-free tailgate. It takes a couple of tries for it to work, but you get 835 liters of boot space. But that is probably not the reason why you would buy the Kodiaq over the Tiguan. That is because the Kodiaq also gets the option to become a 7-seater and carry your whole family on an amazing trip somewhere in the outskirts of your city. And yep, that is one of the main reasons why someone would choose the Kodiaq over the Tiguan. And you can definitely see it is the bigger car, and you can technically fit a couple of kids over here in the back pretty damn comfortably. Just like the Kodiaq, even the Tiguan gets a hands-free tailgate, and once the boot is open, you have 615 liters of boot space, but unfortunately no third row. And yeah, you can definitely see it even in the side profile. This is a much smaller car, feels more like a hatchback, but this is a lot of boot space. And you can close it just with a click of a button. Some annoying things about the Tiguan are the AC controls. VW have given these touch-sensitive sliders for your climate control, which are kind of annoying to use, whereas the Kodiaq gets these nice knobs to adjust the air conditioning. So how about we now take both the cars for a quick spin. The first thing that you immediately understand once you get into the Kodiaq from the Tiguan is the sheer size of it. Now yes, both of these cars are based on the same platform, but this is absolutely massive, and you can definitely feel it even when you're going around a turn or even when you're accelerating super hard. You can feel the weight and the bulk of the Kodiaq. Now let's get one thing straight. Both of these cars are not performance cars by any means, so comparing them in a sporty manner has no sense at all. But still, both cars perform decently well when it comes to like overtakes, how they handle themselves in corners. Of course, the Tiguan is a little bit more sportier, but the Kodiaq has DCC, like I said. So pop this thing into sports mode, and you can feel that the suspension gets stiffer, and when you go through a bend, the body roll decreases dramatically. As for the engine, feels pretty alright. Nothing really to like impress or wow you, but it gets the job done, and the refinement levels of this 2-liter TSI are absolutely amazing. And yeah, it's just super smooth. The gear shifts are seamless, and once you pop it into comfort mode, the DCC suspension just softens up and is just a very cloud-like ride. It's like a magic carpet is something that I would like to say. If you've sat in any other Škoda, all of this is very familiar. This infotainment system is very easy to use. You have your instrument cluster in front of you, which is completely digital. Loads of customization options. The steering wheel is very similar to the Kodiaq Slavia. The seats are the highlight though, heated and ventilated, super comfortable. And this thing comes in a couple of different trims. This is the L&K. You have a sport line and then you have the base model as well. The sport line looks really cool. You have lots of color options. But if you're buying this to be something like your family car or a daily or something that you're not gonna use in any sort of sporty manner, which I think anyways, who is going to use a Kodiaq in a sporty manner? Well, get the L&K because this is such a nice experience. The back seat of the Kodiaq is just so nice. First of all, you have tons of ways to, like adjust the seating and everything. So of course, this is a 7-seater, so the seats move forward or move back. But if you want to go full luxury, move the seat as backwards as possible, and you can recline it as well, and this just makes it such a nice serene experience. And the refinement of the engine, gearbox and everything else just makes it such a smooth experience. Like, I don't even know that the car is running. That's how smooth this engine is. If I had to pick one out of these two to drive, the Tiguan would be my choice all day, every day. That is because the Tiguan is more or less like a Golf underneath. The chassis and a lot of other parts are shared with the Golf that you get in Europe, and you can immediately feel it. It's much more sportier, it's lugging around less weight, so it's quicker, and overall it's just the more sportier car to drive. Even like inside, like the cluster, the dials, the steering, everything just feels more sportier. And in fact, the gear shifts also feel much more snappier and responsive. Probably because both of these cars might be in slightly different states of tune. But yeah, the Tiguan just feels epic to drive. Both cars are fitted with a Haldex all-wheel drive, so grip is never going to be an issue. And you can just throw the Tiguan into any sort of corner and it just grips up and goes. And compared to the Kodiaq, it has very less body roll. Of course, the Kodiaq does come with DCC, and once you put it into sport, it does stiffen up a little bit, but the Tiguan is on normal struts, and that makes just a world of a difference. Now, we are probably going to review this APR tuned Tiguan from this same generation very, very soon, so do stay out for that video because that is going to be a very interesting car. But overall, the Tiguan is just so nice to drive, very sporty, and if I was the person driving the car, the Tiguan would be my choice. The Tiguan's backseat doesn't have really much to talk about. It is decently comfy, doesn't have adjustment options like the Kodiaq, but still gets the side shades and decently comfortable on the go as well. Both the Kodiaq and Tiguan come with off-road modes, but let's be honest, their off-road capabilities are very limited. But nonetheless, both cars can change their throttle response, change their traction control and ABS settings once they're in their respective off-road modes, and really do adapt pretty well with their all-wheel drive systems. And for some reason, both cars have launch control, which is a pretty cool party trick to impress your friends. Now that you guys know all of the information, it is for you to decide which one of these two is for you. The Tiguan is more compact, it's more sporty, and it's more for a nuclear family. Whereas this is for more or less like a joint family. You have 7 seats, it's massive, it's luxurious, and it's amazing how VW, Škoda and the whole VAG family can make two very different cars from the same ingredients. It's like pasta and pizza. If you think about it, the basic ingredients for making pasta and pizza are basically the same. Tomato, wheat, flour. but the outcome from both of the recipes are completely and totally different. So at the end of the day, these are two amazing products. If I were to choose something, I would definitely choose the Kodiaq because of the amazing suspension, the DCC, the interior, the L&K variant and everything. This is just a much more appealing package to me, but at the end of the day, the choice is yours.